We are going to discuss if there are evil souls or if there are void souls. And so we are going to find out via Soul Empowering Hypnosis. Let me patch in Instagram really quickly so they can join us and have fun as well. Okay, I think we are going live in Instagram as well. And we have the wonderful Liz with us again. It is Friday. And so Liz is with us every time on Friday. In just a few minutes, we are going to be channeling our souls' respective answers to that question. Are there evil souls? Are there void souls? But before we get into the channeling, we're going to actually share some of our history and background information regarding this question. And I want to make sure that I say this. This question came to me via an email from one of the wonderful viewers. And so anybody who is watching any of these lives, you are always invited to email me or Liz or comment in the video and share your questions that you have. And then we can make sure that we are addressing your questions as well in the future. And that actually inspires some of the best conversations that we have. So please make sure that you're sharing your questions as well. All right, Liz. So quick introduction for those who don't know Liz. She is the lead SEH instructor, Soul Empowering Hypnosis instructor. She is such a gift to this world and also a very, very talented hypnotherapist. And so, Liz, do you want to share a little bit about Shift with Hypnosis, and then we'll dive into this topic?
Oh, I guess I was caught off guard. Normally I do share a little bit about shift hypnosis and what I do and how I got involved with SCH. It's been a little over 2 years with SCH, and I've been a certified master hypnotherapist for about since 2020. And I'm so excited for this topic tonight. It's one of the things that I have found to come into my sessions a lot. And I feel like I'm one of the people that's able to deal with lower vibrational energies and attachments. And when I very first started doing hypnosis, a lot of clients and practice clients and students and things like that that I work with, they would have these, they would have a back ailment, or, their neck would hurt, and we would, clear it. And then I tried to get into the habit to make sure there was no other energy that needed to be cleared. And that seemed to be really, really helpful. And in doing that, though, I would find these other energies and entities that were just kind of hanging out. And 99.9% of them are just in between realms and are completely harmless. And there's only been a couple of really dark, not fun opening portals type energy. And so we're really good and have gotten really good at protecting ourselves. And hopefully you guys will get to see the ways that we're able to protect ourselves, and people can do this for themselves when they're in a coffee shop, or typically in a hospital or a church or somewhere where there's probably a lot of death that may be occurring at some point. Especially people like light workers or people that work in the holistic field tend to pull that stuff in because we are so empathetic. So I think that it's really good to have that, not fearful energy, just knowing that I can pretty much bring anything home with me and it starts to affect my mood. And usually I'll go under self-hypnosis and check and see, hey, is there any other energies that are hanging out with me? And there definitely have been. And they usually just want to go to somewhere really fun or interesting, or that a lot of them don't know that they're stuck. And so just giving them that platform to be able to express how they're feeling. And most of the time, they just really like to hang out with the person, want to protect them. So no harm usually, but it does start to affect us physically sometimes. So if I'm seeing a lot of physical symptoms, typically autoimmune, fibromyalgia, stuff like that, I found that sometimes that can be one of the layers to the issue. So I always try that's one of the things I try to do is help them clear that.
I have a lot of follow-up questions. I want to make sure that I address what you said,
Mm-hmm.
which is that you don't bring fearful energy to this topic. You bring more of an awareness. It's kind of like people can fear the ocean, or they can have a respect for the ocean and not turn their back on it. And so they're not afraid, but they do understand like what is going on there, and they are aware of making sure they're doing the right things to protect themselves. So I like that you mentioned that it's not fearful, it's more that you have an awareness. You have a lot more experience with this than I do. I do actually carry like a little bit of fear about the topic just because I have less experience. Anytime I have experienced something like this with a client, it's been handled with a lot of love and care, and it has been totally fine. And in the moment, I don't feel fear, but there is something just due to my lack of experience. And even though I've been doing this work for 11 years, it's just one of those things that doesn't come across my desk, if you will, that often, which is why there is that lack. But I want to make sure that I follow up on something very interesting that you said, which is I've had the same experience, which is when people have an attachment with them. Usually it is trying to protect them in some way or another. But like you said, I've had the same experience with just a couple of them, those attachments, those entities that do not seem like they have very good intentions, even if on the surface they say the words and they claim the words that they do have good intentions. You can tell straight away, just like with somebody who is in front of you and you're like, nah, man, I do not trust you. Like, I hear what you're saying, but I also know that you're full of it. And so I want to follow up and ask you, when you had those experiences with those less trustworthy, maybe they were up to something not so good entities, how did you handle that for your client? What was the process of letting go and releasing those attachments?
So I can give a prime example that kind of stands out. I was with a client and she was having a lot of emotional outbursts and not really regulating her emotions really well. And she had expressed to me that she had been contacting other lower vibrational places. Ooh, basically Lilith and darker entities, and using those to manipulate, and she wanted to let that go and release that. Well, what came in is that she had opened up a portal, and she was very nervous and very uneasy, that she had realized that this is what occurred. And in talking with the energies that were coming in, those were they you get a sense of just very dark, heavy, sad, ugh, just not helpful. And she wanted to let that go and to close that portal. And so we were able to say, you are no longer welcome. We were able to, angels came in, particularly Saint Michael is one that really helps with protection from the devil. They say devil, but really, like, it is darker realms, right? So we're on one realm, the earth plane, and there are other realms out there that are not of best interest, and they come forward through fear or manipulation or self-centered behavior. And some of it comes through patterns of past lives that they have brought with them. And so she made the decision she wanted to close it, like I said, and uh, Archangel Michael came in and was able to shut it and release release her from that. So yeah, it was very powerful, very interesting. I felt safe because, again, I call in protection anytime I call in my spirit guides. So I think that people, if they know that or have a sense that they're near someone, that their energy is a little off, you're not really comfortable around them, you're getting that internal compass ding, like, ugh, I don't really like being around this person. Right then, that's when I call in my spirit guides to help. And I personally either do a light bubble or a cloak of protection. So,
So let's say there are people who are watching now who would like to, especially because we're having this conversation where people might be like, I want to learn, but I also feel kind of uncomfortable.
yeah.
And just talking about this, like, are we creating some sort of invitation or beacon? Or so I would love it if you would speak more about that light bubble or cloaking process, because I have a feeling that people who are listening now, they're probably thinking, wouldn't mind doing that right now as we gear up for this conversation.
So I'm going to close my eyes for a second so I can call it.
I'm going to close it along with you.
Taking some nice deep breaths every time I do this. Typically, I'll go to a bathroom if I'm in a public place. I can usually do it with my eyes open, but for education, I call in a light beam from source, energy, God, whatever universal energy, whatever feels good for you. Just protection and love, a light source that comes in through the top of our head all the way down to our tips of our toes, covering us, enveloping us, securing us, creating safety. And sometimes these colors can come in royal purple or white. And one of my favorite lights is angel light. And so just calling that light in, angel light in from the top of your head all the way down to the tips of your toes, or whatever energy feels comfortable for you, feels really, really good. My stomach starts to stop being in knots. I'm able to breathe a little easier. And I'll do this in any situation where I might have anxiety or feel uneasy or uncomfortable. And so then the second step for me is also, hey guys, I need your help here. I'm feeling unsafe. I need protection, or just uneasy. And so, whatever energy, they'll do it whether you visually hear, see, sense it. They're going to do it anyway. And it's fun if you have a second when you're practicing this to kind of close your eyes and really see who comes in for you and asking them, what is the best way to protect my energy, my soul, my spirit at this time? Just taking some nice deep breaths. So for me personally, Archangel Michael came in, which before hypnosis, I was never a angel type person. I never really understood the power of it. And now I understand that they're there to help us and create a level of protection and connection. And we have available to those. I'm actually a sun angel, and if you look up different types of angels, the book Earth Angels, I think it's Earth Angels. It is.
Like Rain Virtue?
Yeah, exactly.
That's a great book.
Yeah, that one's really fun. If you really enjoy that. And the book Spirit Animals, same thing. These are
by her former ex-husband. Do you know, or I guess he's her current ex-husband?
No.
They were married. I know. I didn't know it either, but I love the Earth Angels book and I love the Spirit Animals book. And then I Googled and I was like, those two were actually married. And it feels almost like mom and dad broke up. And mom left the church because you know that she also like disavowed all of her work. Yeah.
Yes.
Drama.
Yeah. I'm here for it a little.
But the books are amazing. I think he's still like very in line with what he wrote. Yeah, but she went deep into, and no judgment, because I didn't get certified in her angel healing. The people who got certified in her angel healing, apparently a lot of them were upset because she was just like, never mind, and just walked away from it because she had a vision of Jesus and was told that everything that she was doing was bad. But then if you pay attention to what she wrote, the energy of her words is really lovely. Like it's nice. Like it doesn't feel bad at all, actually. And she also does, she wrote a book about the spiritual meaning of flowers. So like flowers and angels. And I'm like, I don't know, girl, like your writings are actually pretty nice. So yeah.
I know Jesus backs this work based on how many sessions he's came in. I'm just saying for
Yeah.
clients and for, myself, and he's just like a really great teammate. So
Love him. He's great. Yeah. Oh my gosh. We haven't even touched on this big, juicy agenda, and we're already like bridging out even more. But yeah, we should absolutely, if we have time, Wink, we should circle back to talking about Jesus coming into sessions because it's been pretty interesting. I would never call myself religious. Would you?
Right. No.
Yeah. So like, it's not like this is a teammate that we're looking for. And
Right.
then also the clients that I've had where he has come to visit, they're not religious either. What about for you?
Some of them are, and
Okay.
and some of them, yeah, definitely. Some of them are, but it's interesting to see the different connection.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So that's the way that you call in protection. That's really beautiful. I want to make sure that I say this very quickly because some people listening might have the same stance that I have tended to have for a very long time, which is I feel protected all of the time. So I can be a little cavalier about the whole process where I just walk through life and I'm like, why do I need, and I think this, but I also think that the way that I am probably could be modified. But in general, I'm like, why do I need to ask for protection? I'm always protected. Like, it doesn't make any sense to call in and ask for more, right?
Right.
Except, yeah, because like on one hand, makes total sense. However, then I got a few more answers. After I moved from Virginia to Hawaii to Washington State, all in less than 1 year, I when you're having like that much like and got divorced and like changed my business entirely and I mean like everything was in flux. And when you're in a position like that, you will see multiple psychics in just a handful of months because you're like, I need help. Like, I don't know what's going on. Like, this is too much. And I don't normally do that, but I had this period where I was like, I will just call in any of the teammates to figure out like, what am I supposed to do? So I see like 3 different psychics over like maybe 3, 4, 5 months. It's a very short period of time. And they all had the same message from my guides, which was that I needed to call in more protection. I was like, but aren't I protected all the time anyway? Like, I don't understand. But the fact that right? Yeah. But the fact that they got the same message over and over and over again, by the time I got to the third one and she said it too, I said, okay, hold up. I have to ask a follow-up question because I'm getting this again and again. Aren't I protected all of the time? Why is this a thing that I need to do on a regular basis? Right. And so then she asked, and they said, Courtney, your platform is getting bigger. Your audience is getting bigger. Imagine that you are on a stage and you only have a couple of people in the audience. And if they're nice, that's great. But if you have somebody hurling a rotten tomato at you, wouldn't you want protection? Right. And I'm like, okay, sure. And then they said, but your platform is getting bigger. So now imagine that it's 100 people, it's 1,000 people, it's more than that. And you have a lot of nice people, but now you have more just because the numbers are getting higher, people throwing rotten tomatoes at you. Like, you really going to just keep it to the normal amount of protection that you normally have? And so then I thought, okay, I get it. Like, you need to proactively call in more. And for those of you who are like me, who are still like, but still, shouldn't I have all the protections all of the time? Here's why it is helpful to call it in proactively when you feel like you need it, or just because you are smart and you ask for it all the time. I feel like the universe and our spirit guides and our soul, they are like good parents. And good parents don't hover over you. They don't helicopter you. They don't come in and save you before you go, help, help. They will let you live your life and learn the lessons, sometimes the hard way. But again, just like a good parent, as soon as you go, help, 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 they're going to be there and they're going to go, what do you need? Right. But they're not going to interfere because they are good and they are wise and they're not going to overstep their bounds. So if you want to remember that they are good parents, so they're not going to just dive right in and say, you didn't ask for this, but we're going to give it to you anyway. You need to ask them. So, Liz, what is your protocol, if you will, Do you ask for this every morning? Do you ask for it before you go to bed? Do you just ask for it on occasion when you feel like you're in those weird situations? Like, what's your approach to asking for protection?
I have gotten, my guides have been telling me I need to be doing this every night. So I'll go through bouts of calling in protection every single night. And then in the morning, when I go to meditate, AKA self hypnosis, then I will ask, hey, what's going on? What do I need today? And usually at that point, they'll let me know. And then, not, I know I seem less socially awkward, right? Don't have anxiety, but going out in public sometimes can create a lot of internal angst of the unknown. I'm not sure what and so usually at that point in time when I'm in the car, I just call in protection 95% of the time. So, but most of the time, I kind of know in my gut, I would say. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm consistently calling it in though, for sure.
Good for you. That's amazing. Yeah, I've been shown to ask for it as I'm going to bed. And for
Mhm.
me, it is consistently like a sunshine yellow. That's
Mm.
the color. And yeah, also a sun angel. And so it makes sense that that is the color that is supposed to be surrounding me. And I think to help me feel like I am at home, kind of like if you're cradled in your mother's love,
Yep.
you know you're okay. And so for me, I feel like the yellow is the love of the sun, and the
Yeah.
sun's like, got you. And I think it's not just protection. I think it's also a purification of anything that has come in that needs to be released. And so it's also like taking a nice like bath or shower at the end of the day where it's like scrub, scrub. Okay. I'm good.
It does. It's if you really start to kind of look at frequencies, it's a very interesting, I can almost feel a vibration to it. Like when we call in colors in our sessions, I feel almost like a vibration within it, a frequency that's just pure love, right? And it gives me all the things that I need that I didn't realize I was lacking throughout the day. And it helps me definitely clear all the gunk that I have brought home.
Accumulated.
There you go. That's the proper word. Yeah, accumulated for sure.
Okay. All right, perfect. So for anybody who's wondering about how to protect yourself, I think the main thing is to just let your heart, whether you're saying it out loud or on the inside, just ask. Like, just ask for the protection. If you're like, I don't know what I'm doing, just say the sentence. You want the protection. And then for anybody who missed Wednesdays, so the last live, I actually took them through a live soul empowering hypnosis session and took them through the induction, and we called in the protection energy as part of that, and we also as part of it called in the healing and beneficial colors. So they got to do an experiential with that. So anybody who missed the live from 2 days ago, you can go back and watch and experience that. It's really, really nice. It's very soothing to be able to receive that color energy. And then we've talked about purples and we've talked about angel light, we've talked about sunshine yellow, but you might end up getting a totally different color because it is the color that is best for you. And then don't be surprised if a month from now, a day from now, 4 years from now, it's a different color, because there's going to be a different color that will be the best for you in that moment. So let it evolve along with you.
Agreed.
Okay. Shall we actually like get to the agenda? What do you think? Good idea?
Yeah.
30 minutes in. And we do have to keep it to 59 because Instagram is a pill and they make sure that we keep it to 59 or we can't. Did you hear that? That is so weird. I had a weird ding. Does that ever happen to you? I've never heard that happen to you before. What was that?
Well, that may have been a text that came across my computer that is normally on sleep and was not on sleep. So
Yeah, we've done what, about 1,000 meetings together? I have never heard that happen.
I think someone's been on my computer.
Okay, so that's really weird. I don't know if you saw my live from a couple of days ago, but about 8 minutes into it, I was saying something and 2 beeps of my fire alarm went off. I've lived here for a year and a half. I've never heard it do that. Why did it do that? Why did your thing do that? Okay, I don't know. We're gonna have to ask maybe when we channel in a few minutes. Maybe we'll ask if we can remember. We'll try to remember. Okay. All right. So the agenda. Oh my God. Okay, I'm just going to try to get through it as fast as possible. We'll just do what we can.
Yeah.
Okay, we talked about how to protect, and then also want to make sure I plug next Wednesday's live. I will teach you guys how to let go of, release any of those energies that might be attached to you. So anything that you're carrying that is not yours, just make sure that you're subscribing to these lives, and then that way on Wednesday, 6 p.m. Pacific, I will teach you how to release that. If you're watching this video into the future and you're like, what? Then just watch the Wednesdays live recording where I help you with releasing the entities. And I'll take you through a guided hypnosis session to help you let go of those things that you're carrying that are not yours. Okay, so let's start with I took mushrooms and I heard dark noises.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I think you already know this story, so I'll make it very, very brief for those who don't know the story, and then we'll dive into this because it led to an extra interesting follow-up question, which is, do some souls play on the light team and do some souls play on the dark team? Because again, the theme of this day is, are there evil souls, right? Like that's what we're actually addressing today. So I did the magic variety of the mushrooms. I like to make this joke. I did it on March 3rd, 2020, and like the world shut down like 9 days later. And so I like to joke back then that like saying that I was just in a bad trip for like 2 years. Like, those mushrooms were strong. And also the person who gave them to me is actually a doctor, and she said to take Benadryl if I ever wanted to like stop the mushrooms. I'm like, man, I should have taken more Benadryl. That's the protection. It's pink protection. Anyway, okay, so took the mushrooms. While I was experiencing the mushrooms, I heard this, like, I knew it was dark energy, and it was like chatter, like these noises, like talking, but you couldn't tell what it was actually saying. You just knew it was talking, and you just knew that it was dark. And then this is 4.5 years ago. And I'm not yet as mature or evolved in my spiritual path. You know, we're always progressing.
Mm-hmm.
And at that point, you're still hearing all this stuff about manifesting. And it's like, you need to be at a high vibration. And if you're at a high vibration, then you're not even aware of the low vibrations, and the low vibrations can't find you. And so then I'm thinking, like, I'm trying to do all this good stuff in the world, and I'm trying to help, and I'm trying to be good. And I am hearing some crazy noises. Like, what is, again, immature response on my part because I didn't know any better yet. But I'm thinking, like, what is wrong with me? What is bad about me that I was able to even tune into that frequency, right? Mm-hmm. So it threw me off, wondering, like, here I am trying to do all this good in the world. What is going on here? Now, that was very beneficial because it allowed me to do a deep dive into a question that I wouldn't have asked otherwise. So I'm no longer on the mushrooms. It's like a day or two later. And I take myself into self-hypnosis, and I ask, like, why was I able to hear that? Is there something that I am doing wrong? Is there something that is bad about me? Like, what do I need to know? Because that really disturbed me. Mm-hmm. And so they say, no, there's nothing wrong with you. Like, just sometimes the light players are aware of what the dark team is doing. Mm-hmm. And in fact, sometimes the light players will even play on the dark team for a temporary time because they are actually learning the playbook of the dark team so that they can then take that inside information back to the light team and then help the light team further their progress because they're more aware of what is going on inside of the dark team. Plus, when that light worker, light teammate, defects from the dark to the light, anybody who was on the dark team who was thinking about defecting is more emboldened and can defect with them, right? So they were like, so you can also even inspire other souls that are like, I want to be in the light. And they're like, you were doing it. I'm going to go with you over to the light as well. So I'm like, okay, great. I feel very relieved by that answer. Do you have anything to say about that? Because that's actually like kind of the end.
It makes complete sense. Yeah, that makes complete sense. Is to we have to have that light and dark, and yeah,
it throws people off sometimes because they're like, well, why? And I'm like, I don't know, because honestly, I think that everything that we're experiencing is for the purpose of experience and learning and progress. And so for me, the light and the dark team it feels like watching a nature show, like when you watch the predator and the prey, and the predator is always evolving and advancing so that it can catch the prey, because man, they need to eat, right? But then the prey is also evolving and advancing constantly because they need to survive too. And so I wonder, like, how does anybody stay alive in these things? But it reminds me of the light and the dark, where it's like, okay, light figured out something new. Okay, dark figured out something new. Boom, 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 boom. And they just keep progressing. And frankly, I imagine that at the end of the day, because I do think, we'll channel and find out in just a few minutes, I do think we're all from source, and I do think that we're all light. I wouldn't bet anyone's life on it, but I do think it. And I have a feeling that at the end of the day, when all this is said and done, I doubt it's ever going to be said and done, but if it were to be said and done, that all the light and all the dark, at the end we go, good game, good game, good game, good game, good game. And we'd just be high-fiving like, man, you were a total baddie. And the baddie would be like, I know, right? Like, I sold that. Like, that was amazing. Everybody like, you were the worst baddie. Good for you. Right? I just think everybody would go like, good on you. You did what you were supposed to do, because we needed to learn. Yeah.
Amazing. I love that.
Right? So, but I am still kind of nervous about like, what are we going to find out when we ask about the light and the dark? Okay, so speaking of, because we have had some experiences with, we've never tried to connect them with the dark. I mean, I did ask that question after the mushrooms trip, but I wasn't trying to connect in with the dark. I was connecting with my team to ask about the dark. And then you and we have co-facilitated sessions where we were trying to help people. Both of them have, I don't like the term substance abuse. And you know what? You actually speak more knowledgeably about this than me. I don't love the term substance abuse. So these two, both of them, one is close to you, one is close to me. They both have substance abuse issues. The reason I don't like that is because I think that it's really taking away from what it is. And I think that it's like, even though it's self-medicating, it also is like there's something where like they're abusing themselves. So I think it was more like self-abuse rather than substance abuse. And so like, so we're like sending all this love. We're trying to help. And so for both of these people that we were trying to help, Lucifer like came in as something that we were contending with. And I remember when he first came in, like, this was when we were helping somebody that you're close to. I remember thinking like, what on earth is this bit? Like, it was just such big energy in front. And I was like, I don't know what this is, but like, it is big and it is dark. But then I could also feel really, really big, strong. I don't know if I want to use the word positive, like teammate, definitely helping. But it was so intimidating. The positive doesn't really seem like the right word. But like, I had this intimidating to Lucifer teammate that had my back and also had the back of the friend of yours that we were trying to help. And I remember eventually, like, I was like, it had like Grim Reaper energy, but I also know it was from like Greek mythology, right? And then I realized, like, after doing a little bit of research, it was Cronus. So it was actually the Titan Cronus. So that being had our back in that moment, while Lucifer was this being that was meddling with your friend. And then you found out after you and I had that session to help her that she actually engaged with him prior to that session, right?
Yep, exactly, to a T.
Yeah, and then one of my favorite things is, if I recall correctly, didn't she reach out to you in a very kind, positive way, almost instantaneously after we had that session to try to help her?
Via text, yeah.
Yeah. Yep. So what's funny is my friend, same thing, except for yours is a girl and mine is a guy. Like, that's really the only difference.
Yes.
The first time we were helping him and I was sending him love, like, it actually wasn't Lucifer energy that we had tapped into yet. But he also, during that moment of that session, sent me a nice text.
Interesting.
Right. But then, okay, fast forward a couple of months and we're trying to help again. And it was the same thing where there was this Lucifer energy that was around him. And because we'd already had the experience with yours and I already knew about Cronus, and I was like, whatever, man, like, what you got, what you're bringing to the table, I'm actually bringing like more to the table. And so I was like, all right, it's like not even Lucifer now. I'm like, hey, Luce, like, what's up? Like, you again.
Right.
So it wasn't that big of a deal. And I was just like, okay, like, I think we like rooted him into a tree, right? It was
Yes.
like a tree
Yes.
also with us and a dragon. And so it was like very like, I almost felt bad for Lucifer for a second. I was like, dude, you're so outnumbered right now. Like, you don't even have a chance.
Yeah.
So, but then same thing where I asked my friend, I was like, did you, when you were younger, like at all, like engage with this type of energy? And he was like, actually, yeah, I did, which is interesting to me because as a kid, I never would have thought in a million years to do
Mhm.
anything like that. So I always am surprised when people say like, yeah, I did do that. I'm like, why?
Mhm.
So yeah.
It can
So
be as simple though, sometimes, some of them. Um, I mean, people can say what they want and think that it's a fun game, but it really is a form, is the Ouija board is a form of a portal. And
that
so
one has always scared me. I've never done that one.
yeah, that one, it's a portal. And yeah, just because again, we're opening ourselves up to light and dark, and depending on where you're at, and typically teenagers tend to be a little angsty, and that's typically who, you know,
Yeah.
the mm, I think the dark will, it depends where the person is. That's why it's so important to work on ourselves, because it tends to come in more, those lower vibration, when we're not in a good place. And so that's why it's so important to like make sure we're doing the tough work, you know?
That makes a lot of sense because I always talk about how SEH, Soul Empowering Hypnosis, will meet you where you are. So wherever you are on the journey, it's going to find you and it is going to take you in such a great direction. But now I'm thinking like, well, also the Ouija board will meet you where you are. It's like if you're not having a good day, don't do it.
I would even say above the Ouija board, thinking about it, like I have had clients that have not been in good spaces and have not been happy, or, had a
Like
lot of
while they were preparing to have their session or
prior to, and sure, the dark, not necessarily entities, just the lower vibrational energy in our life attracting people that may have those vibrations, and relationships and things like that when we're not in a good spot. I think, okay, we're getting off track, but that's a whole other
no,
topic.
I mean, I promise you there's somebody listening right now that is like, oh, okay, you just actually solved a mystery for me.
Yeah.
So, yeah, because I always think about like whenever I meet new people, what kind of mood was I in when I met them? Right.
Great.
And where you were, even if it's a momentary thing, like let's say you were just stuck in traffic and you're feeling a little frazzled as a
Mhm.
result of it, even if you've been doing really well, like you slipped a little bit. And
Mhm.
that's when like it's very easy for somebody who has, let's say, frazzled energy. And you're like,
Yes.
man, this friend is just always nervous all the time. It's like, oh, right. Like I met that person when I was nervous about something. And so it makes a lot of sense that
Yeah.
that is who you invited in because that you had almost a billboard on you saying like, hey, I'm really stressed out. Anybody want to be stressed out too? And it was like, I need to be stressed out.
Yeah.
So yeah. Okay. All right. Then anything else that you want to say about the Lucifer or fallen angel? Like I think that you and I both handled that really well. Like the first time I saw him, I was like, what? But the second time I was just like, okay, like it like we know how to handle you. Anything you want to add to that?
No, I think it's going to come up when we do a little bit of the soul chat for sure.
Yeah. Okay. And then I want to also jump to that actual direct question. Like, do you think, and of course we'll channel in just a few minutes, do you think there are evil souls? Not to put you on the spot or anything, but
I don't. I think that there are, okay, definitely out of the box, as I like to say, but I think there's souls from not our spirit realm, and different realms that are not necessarily. No, I don't. I really don't. That are, they're just that being, like from that realm. They are that's their energy. That's their frequency in that realm. And so to them, it's not good or bad. It just is. But the heaviness of it, I think that there are dark realms. And I think that people can utilize those tools of the lower vibrations a lot more than they do the higher vibrations. So I think that anyone has light within them. I think that everyone has light within them. We'll see though. I mean,
I'm wondering if because, oh man, we're saying a bunch of stuff that I feel might be outside of the experience of a lot of people. So I want to use metaphors to try to make it more palatable and digestible. And so I'm going to take a stab at my metaphors. You have more experience with this, so please correct me where I am missing the mark. So this is my assessment before we channel and we find out more. But my assessment is that we're all from source, right? So ultimately, we're all good, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's just like the short story, and that's like the true story. We're all good. Now, here's a metaphor. So let's pretend that a soul is just like a Liz and a Courtney. And Liz, I don't know everywhere that you live, but I have lived in Michigan and Virginia and California and Hawaii and Washington. You know what I mean? I've lived in all these places. So think of those as different incarnations. So Courtney is the soul. And everywhere that I have lived has been an extended experience that we're going to call a lifetime, right? And so I have more influence from Virginia. I lived there the longest, but then also Hawaii. I have not lived there the longest. That's one of the shorter places that I have lived, but it resonated with me so much that I even joke that I grew up in Hawaii. I just happened to be in my 30s when I did. Right. So those two places have a very strong influence on me, just like certain lifetimes are going to have a very strong influence, or let's say a different realm. Like I'm wondering if souls aren't necessarily exclusively from one realm, just like I'm not exclusively from Virginia. I was actually born in Michigan. So technically that's where I'm from. Right. And so maybe these souls, like maybe they're from the angel realm, but maybe they actually started somewhere else. It's just that they identify the most with the angel realm. And maybe even though they're from the angel realm and identify the most with the angel realm, maybe they're currently like over in the fairy realm, right? Like they're having like a staycation in the fairy realm and experiencing that. So technically that's where they're from in that moment, but they really identify more with something else. Is that a decent metaphor as far as maybe like some of those souls are doing a tour of the darker realm, but like that's not really where they're from and that's not ultimately where they're going to go?
I agree. And maybe, yes. And I would say that I'm curious to know, are we all from source? Because if we are, then that would solidify exactly what you're saying.
I'm writing it down. I'm going to write, are we all from source? And ultimately, are we all returning back? And slash, are we all also still there? Right?
Yeah,
like if our soul can do anything, like I would say part of our soul is constantly residing there.
That would be an interesting, concept for sure.
Okay. And we're not going to have very much time to channel. So that might be like, we're going to ask if they're evil souls. And then we're going to ask about like the source stuff. And it might just be very like boom, boom, boom. Okay. Everybody who gets my emails, we're going to save the devil face story. Basically, I saw a guy's devil face like months and months before I met this guy, and then found out later that he had a demon in his left foot. So I saw him in a hypnosis session, months passed, met him at a meditation retreat. At the end of the meditation retreat, he was like, yeah, I have a demon in my left foot. I'm like, I saw that dude as a devil's face months ago. I'll tell that story more properly later, but I did tell my email list that I would mention that story. There is the very short version of it. Deeper than hypnosis. I'm going to take 30 seconds to talk about this because I find it so interesting. I was taking a certification in hypnosis, and one of the things that they taught us was the method of going deeper than hypnosis. I went, following the instructions, deeper than hypnosis. I went into this void, like nothing, place where
Yeah.
I felt no emotions, not even the bad emotions. It was terrible. It actually made me appreciate the harder, more challenging emotions, because the harder, more challenging emotions actually feel better than
Mhm.
feeling nothing. And
Agree.
so that I was like, what on earth? And then came home after that certification training and asked the husband, the ex, I was like, hey, can I practice this on you? And of course, like, didn't tell him what was going to happen, because I was like, that was super weird. I want to see what happens when he experiences it without like telling him like what I think might happen. And so I took him into it, and he was like, I don't like this. Can you get me out of here? And I was like, yes. Pulled him out. And I was like, what'd you experience? He was like, it was like nothing. Like I felt nothing, and it was awful. And I was like, yes, like it's terrible, right? And so
Mhm.
then again, without giving anything away, I was working with a client like a couple of weeks after that. I casually referenced it, didn't say that it was terrible. And she was like, wait, there's like a deeper than hypnosis. Cause the phrase deeper than hypnosis sounds like it's going to be awesome,
Mhm.
right? No.
Mhm.
And she was like, so you can take me deeper than hypnosis? And I was like, I can walk you through it. And I'm thinking, maybe I had a weird experience. Maybe Charles had a weird experience. Maybe this girl's going to have a nice experience, right? Like maybe we're the weird outliers. So I take her through it, and she goes, can you get me out of here? And I was like, yes. And I pulled her out, and I was like, what was your experience? And she was like, it felt like nothing. I did not like it. And I was like, okay, 3 for 3. And I just have never, ever offered it to anyone ever again, because what is the point other than appreciating our emotions?
Right.
So that is the deeper than hypnosis. And if anybody's like, I want to experience it, I don't even remember the script. So like, I think it's really just technically saying like, go deeper than hypnosis. And then you do it. And you're like, get me out of here. I don't want it.
Mm-mm.
Um, yeah, Liz, anything that you want to say about that, or the gray void area that you were telling me about?
Yeah, not a huge fan of either of those personally. It's not comfortable. It's not a good space. I don't think I'd ever like to visit there again. No,
It really
absolutely.
makes you appreciate like all the stuff that we get to feel. We get to feel. We get to feel.
Yeah,
Right.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Actually, we're only one agenda item away, so we're gonna do it.
Yeah.
The story about the lady in India.
Oh,
And
yeah.
yeah, so I was in India as part of my PhD program for about 5 weeks. And there was this cafe that I like going to. And kind of like I was in the Truman Show, there was this very strange experience. And I wouldn't even go there the same time of day. So it's not like, oh, well, I was on a schedule, so she was there the same time I was there. No, it would be different times of day on different days. And as I was finishing and I would be leaving, there was this kind of spiral staircase to get up or down. And so there was one ingress egress point that you had to go through. I would be leaving. She would be at the top of the stairs. She wasn't there before.
Mhm.
And then I would be leaving, and I would have to like walk by her and directly like look in her direction. And this happened multiple times. And I remember feeling so unsettled whenever I would look at her. And I wasn't like trying to look, but you look where you're going and you catch a gaze, right? Or you catch a glimpse. And after that happened a few different times, I was like, I have never had this thought before in my life. It feels like I'm looking at a body without a soul.
Mm. Mhm.
And I don't know what's animating her.
Mm.
And so eventually, because I was so disturbed/curious about it, I asked somebody who lived in that community. I was like, hey, are you familiar with the woman who was at this cafe a lot? She's got short gray hair. And they were like, oh, yeah, that's, so and so. And I was like, what's her story? Right. And they said she had a psychotic break years earlier, and that the community was really nice and rallied around her to make sure that she was, staying housed and fed. But she had this psychotic break. And
Mm.
honestly, I'll never know if I'm right, but it felt like somebody whose body stayed
Mm.
alive, but the soul left.
Yeah.
And yeah, and that was just so I don't know, like that's a totally different topic than are there evil souls or are there void souls, but like what is going on? And if you guys who are listening
Yeah.
have theories and things that we could explore or learn about this, like I've never seen anything like it. But like, did her soul leave? And why didn't a walk-in come in? You know what I mean? Like, did no walk-in go? Like, was there no walk-in that was interested?
Yeah.
Walk-ins are souls that come in where they're like, oh, there's a body, but not a soul. Like, okay, I'm in. And that's when people will have like a traumatic experience, traumatic, like to the body, and they almost die. And then they come back, and then all of a sudden, like they have different preferences. They like different foods. They don't really care for their spouse anymore. Like they totally changed their personality. And it's because the original soul left and a new soul came in. And it's like no soul like said, hey, I'm going to go in. It was, I don't know what to make of it, but it seems
Yeah.
appropriate for the topic.
Yeah.
It's a
Agreed.
segue. Yeah, it's a good segue into, again, saying on Wednesdays live, I'm going to walk you guys through how to release attachments, entities, energies that you are carrying that are not yours. And the reason that India is a good reminder is because after I was done with that time in India, it was a very stressful 5 weeks due to the conditions that I was in. And luckily, about a week after I was done with that, I had somebody teach me this exercise about how to release things that were not yours. And
Mm.
I was so clearly different from that experience in India that
Yeah.
when this gentleman was looking at a group of about 30 people, and he was like, who here is carrying energy that's not yours? About 10, 15 people held their hands up. He circles around, he looks at everybody, and he looks at me and he goes, you're
Mm.
definitely carrying energy that's not yours. And I had been so unhappy as a
Mm.
result of that trip. And as soon as we did that exercise, I was back to being me. Like I was my light, bubbly, jovial self. And I feel so relieved to know that exercise that I will definitely teach it to you guys on the next Wednesdays live. So that's a teaser for that. Okay, Liz, we have 9 minutes. Lap of luxury.
Yes.
Okay, let's drop in. Guys, we're not going to do the induction. Liz and I don't need it. You can watch the other lives to see the induction. We don't need it. We're just going to drop in and channel. So let's start with, are there evil souls? So you take yourself in. I'm going to take myself in and just start talking whenever. We'll see if it's Maynard, but I'm guessing it's going to be Katya that comes in. And then my soul, for those of you who are new, my soul's the team. It's called Moms. So, okay. All right. You ready?
Yep.
Okay. Let's go. Okay, yeah, mine already answered.
All right.
Question, are there evil souls? My team just said like, no, of course not. So there are beings that are having a tough time.
Yep.
And they don't mean to infringe on anyone, but they are expressing their experience out loud. Huh. Okay.
Love that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the lightness of apparently each soul is like a light being, right? And with each experience, you can dim or make brighter your light, your energy. And we are all from source.
Okay. I just got the quotes regarding like the darkness of others and like what they're, I like that phrase that they're just expressing their experiences out loud.
Yes.
So my team just said it's not yours, not Liz, but and not even specifically anybody here, but just everybody who's listening. It's not yours to judge. It's yours to shield. So if those souls are having that more challenging experience and they're expressing it out loud, we're not meant to judge it, but we are meant to shield from it. So give them a lot of love, give them a lot of space, but also give yourself a lot of shielding.
Agreed.
I'm going to ask them about that protection question because that does ruffle my feathers a little bit, that I have to ask for it all the time, where I'm like, can I just say it one time, like just protect me already? So I'm going to ask, like, why do we have to keep re-upping it? Okay, fine. They already answered. Would you like to hear the answer?
I got it too, but go ahead. I want to
Yeah. So they said that it's not any different than if you have a friend, like you don't call your friend once and go, hi, friend, we're friends. I love you so much. You're so great. Okay. That's the one phone call you get this entire lifetime. Hope that was good enough. They're like, no, we like engaging with you. Engage with us more. And so have a conversation with us, have a relationship with us. If part of that relationship is asking for protection, then that's part of the relationship. But stop acting like we're any different than any other friends, family, teammates that you have. Like, we like engagement as well. It is valuable for them and valuable for us. Okay, got it.
Agreed. And they're saying that we can be entitled sometimes as human beings. that we are that we assume that that protection is just there, and it's rather arrogant of us to feel that way. um it's the human condition, right? It's
Yeah.
like taking showers. How long is the shower going to last to
Yeah.
stay clean? Same concept. A day, a week. How much dirt are we going out and getting in out there to where we need to call in more protection?
Yeah. So like
Yeah.
spiritual friendship and spiritual hygiene.
Yes. Huge.
Okay, so I'm going to ask my team that question that you raised, which was really good. Are we all from source? Yes. Okay, sure. And then are we there right now? And is that where we're ultimately going to lead or end up?
Mm,
Oh, this is interesting. I think they're showing it to me.
tell me more.
It's like a white orb,
Mm,
but then like a white sparkle still attached to it, but also out of it. Like birthing, like calving, like
yes.
icebergs calve. So
Hmm.
like, but it's still attached to it, so it hasn't yet calved all the way.
Yes.
That's okay. That's a great visual. So it answers everything all at once, which is, are we from source? Yes, that's the thing that we are birthed
Hmm.
from. Are
Hmm.
we still perpetually a part of it, even though we're having an experience outside of it? So that's where that, yes, you're still attached to it, but you were also pushed out from it to a degree. So yes, you feel like you're having your own unique experience, but ultimately you're still actually tied into it, attached to it. Tied in is not right because that sounds like a tether. Nothing like that. It's actually like a pretty like good grip, like a good percentage of the surface area is still within the source
Yeah.
orb. And then do we go? And the question is, do we go back to? And they're like, well, you never actually leave.
Yeah. And what they were saying is those souls, the lost soul that you spoke about, for lack of a better term at this time,
Yeah,
with the India woman, that sometimes those tethers, again, lack of a better term, can wither or break.
I saw Frey. Yeah,
Yeah,
afraid.
that's the word. Yep.
Yeah.
And so that's what's occurring with some of those souls. They're not the one that you experienced. Yeah, hers was definitely frayed very, yeah, a lot. I mean, she still was somewhat connected. She just was unaware of the connection.
Yeah, what I'm seeing is, whenever you accidentally hurt a plant and you
Mhm.
snap like 98% of it, but like 2% of it still has, I'm forgetting what those terms are, but basically the veins that
Yes.
will allow it to get water, but just a tiny fraction of what it normally would get if it hadn't been injured.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, seeing that as well, where like there's just like this tiny fraction of a percentage of a continued connection, but it's very, very sparse.
Yes.
Interesting.
What was the original question with evil? And I feel like the gray souls and the evil, that's the next thing that we're supposed to cover.
The original question is, can there be evil souls or void souls? We have 2 minutes.
Okay. We'll knock this out. You know it. Um, mhm.
Mine already answered. So my answer was, or my team's answer was that they are expressing their experience out loud.
You're correct in that. I think they wanted to clarify even more with the gray souls are mm, they are different than the disconnected souls, the gray souls, where you tend to see the person that really has no look behind their eyes. It's very similar to the lady that you saw. They are just they're trying to get back to source. And it takes them a few lifetimes apparently. So, yeah, interesting.
I have a feeling we're going to do a follow up on this because it's very juicy and it's something I haven't heard much about, which means probably a lot of people are like, what? And would like to know more. So if you guys want to ask follow up questions about it, please do, because we will absolutely address this again. Liz and I are going to do our next live together every Friday. So make sure you tune in on Fridays. On Monday, I have a guest come on, and it's usually somebody who's asked a question. So if you have a question and you want to come on live and have a nice discussion about it, you're invited. That will be on Monday. And then on Wednesdays, that's when I do a teaching from the Soul Empowering Hypnosis SEH certification training program. And so what I'm going to be doing on this upcoming Wednesday is a follow-up to this. Again, helping you understand and taking you through an experiential of how to release energies and attachments that are not yours. So make sure that you tune in live on Wednesday as well. And then also, if you want to take the full SEH certification training, just go to CourtneyStarkey.com. If you want to have a one-on-one session with Liz, go to shiftwithhypnosis.com. All right, Liz, I'm going to end the stream.